Welcome back, Los Angeles, 790 KABC. You're listening to Ledger on the Law, and we are joined in studio with Stephen R. Golden and his right-hand man, Tom Carozzo. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Oh,
thanks for having us.
Good to be here. I'm literally sitting at his right hand.
Well, with all its sham and drudgery, it is still a beautiful world. We have people out there that are potentially losing their homes, and that could probably be one of the worst things that could happen to a family. And you guys are the saviors. I keep waiting for them to open their shirts and see a big S on their chest. I haven't seen it yet, but then again, nobody wants to take off their shirt around Phil.
What are you trying to say?
But tell us, guys, there's some laws protecting homeowners in California. Some of them are recent. Can you give us an update on the current state of the housing market and some of the new legislations that's come down to protect homeowners?
Well, there's still a lot of people that are having difficulties making their payments. The economy here in California, as we all know, is not what it ought to be. And so people are struggling to make those payments. And some of these loans are readjusting. The interest rate is starting to readjust. And we know the interest rates will be going up. So they're faced with a difficult situation. The value of the home is upside down. They owe more to the bank than the property's worth, and having trouble making the payment. So there's lots and lots of people. I think that if, in fact, the economy in California continues very, very sluggish, you're going to continue to have a whole bunch of foreclosures, unfortunately.
Well, a lot of people have heard these other real estate shows on the air, and this is not that show. This is a legal show, and if you're in trouble in your home, there's a legal component to this.
Yes.
To this 800-222-5222, 800-222-KABC. We're not talking about loan modifications here. Tell us what we're talking about.
All right, look, the banks, from the time they wrote the loan, they breached a lot of different duties, and during the service of the loans, they break a lot of specific laws. And in the foreclosure process, there's a lot of specific duties that are on the banks, on the servicer of these loans, and that is the leverage by which you can bring the banks to court, cite those violations, and there's penalties there that are assessed against the banks. That gives you the leverage to do what the banks do not want to do. They do not want to lower your payment. They do not want to lower the interest rate. They do not want to lower the balance of the loan. It's just not in their interest. And so they're not going to work with you. They'll have you go through the whole paper process, but the reality is that we found you have to take them to court. If you've already been through the paper chase and you've submitted numerous documents and you feel or you think that there's going to be a foreclosure sale down the road, you don't trust them, that's for good reason. They cannot be trusted, and so they will take your home at the time and place of their choosing. And so you better be aware of that. If the banks tell you the sky is blue, you might not want to believe it.
At what point is taking them to court become more expensive than then just writing, or
Right.
fixing the problem?
Well, the new law, the Homeowner Bill of Rights, puts a lot of penalties and attorney's fees that you might have to pay your attorney to take them to court. There are damages against the bank and for having to go and stop the sale. If they go forward and foreclose upon you, and you can get that rescinded, and they'll have to pay 4 times your economic damages, which could be huge, plus punitive damages of $50,000, whichever is greater. So there's incentive, there's a hammer in the law then that really makes the banks stop and do what they need to do, which they agreed to do when the taxpayers bailed them out years ago, to work with homeowners and do what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, back when they were too big to fail.
Yeah, they are still too big to fail. And we all heard Eric Holder, our glorious Attorney General, when questioned by senators at the Senate hearing was a few weeks ago, said that, well, in effect, so many words, the banks are too big to jail. They're too big to prosecute because they're holding all these, I call them bogus loans that just aren't what they were cracked up to be. And when they go into the ugly underbelly of the bank's loans and profiles, you're going to see a lot of problems, and it's a big problem. And I don't know, what they're going to do as far as prosecution, but they surely do need to break them up because they are too big, for the economy to exist the way they are.
Couldn't agree more.
Homeowners Bill of Rights. It sounds complicated. For a lot of our listeners, they may not want to, they don't know where to find it. They don't want to read it. If it's anything like the Obamacare Act and it's 14,000 pages long, I'm not going to read it either. Can you fill us in on the Homeowners Bill of Rights and really what is that?
Okay. There have been some really egregious practices by the banks in the foreclosure process. They will do what's called the dual track process. While you're submitting paperwork to try to apply for a loan modification, the clock is ticking towards foreclosure. And so you think that the bank is working with you, but all the time they're ready and prepared to do the foreclosure. That's definitely illegal under the new law. That's number one. And another one, of course, is if you do have a temporary loan modification, you're making some kind of payments, they can't do this, then pull the rug out from under you and say, well, we changed our minds. Those are some of the key provisions. And there's some other very important provisions in the law that require the bank to prove, in fact, they have all the paperwork, the original, the promissory note that you signed when you originated the loan, the deed of trust. They have to show the assignments of those original documents to wherever they are now. And I'm telling you, you may think I'm crazy, but they can't always produce those documents. The sloppiness of the banks, it's unimaginable. We see it all the time. And so the legislators, if you're going to take someone's property, you need to prove that you have the documentation.
Are they required to produce the original signature? Is a scanned copy okay?
A scanned copy is okay, but under the Uniform Commercial Code, they have to explain what happened to the original. And the new law says, and a very important aspect of the new law is, if they're going to go through produce documents in court, declarations, or the declaration of default that starts the foreclosure process, these documents have to be complete, they have to be accurate, they have to be credible and competent.
Now, what happens when somebody contacts you? How soon can they contact you?
Well, they can do it I would suggest any time that the bank's given them a runaround, that they've tried themselves. We tell clients, go ahead and try yourself. If you think that you can work with the bank, if they're going to work with you, we figure there's about a 6-7% chance they'll get a loan modification. But if you've been through it 2 or 3 times submitting paperwork, they're just dragging you along and they will foreclose. So you need to, face the music at that point. If you want to keep your home, you might want to, talk to a good foreclosure defense attorney, take them to court, and get them to do what they need to do.
Gentlemen, I need to take a quick break. When I come back, I want more on foreclosure and how to save your home. You're listening to Ledger on the Law, 790 KABC. I'll be right back.